Hello all, welcome to Tech Capture. So this is our playlist Mastering GitHub Action, and this is our second video in this playlist. In this video we'll see how we can use variables and secret in GitHub Action workflow. So first we'll see what are the different types of variable we can use in GitHub Action workflow, how we can access it within the workflow, within the job, within the steps while running our workflow, how we can create secrets, how we can access secrets, and if for manual triggered workflow, how we can provide user input. So all these details we are going to see in this video. So first we'll see what are the different types of variables we have in a GitHub Actions. Okay, so first type is variables for single workflow. So these workflows are defined within the workflow file itself, YML file itself, and they have defined at different scope. So these variables can be defined for complete workflow, this can be defined for a specific job, or this can be defined for specific steps as well. So we'll see how we can use the single workflow variables. So I will go to GitHub Action, and we have already created some samples there, and I will show you how we can use this variable, how we can create this variable, and how we can access this variable for a single workflow. So the variables created within the YML file for this workflow cannot be accessed in any other workflow. So these are scoped to specific to this single workflow only. Okay, so let me go to the GitHub Action screen, and there we'll see how we can use these variables for a single workflow. So I am in my GitHub Action demo repository. So this repository we created, and we created one demo workflow here in GitHub Action. Okay, so let me open this our workflow folder where we can create our multiple workflows. So within this workflow I have created few more workflows. Okay, so for different variable types I have created a different workflow. So for our first type, that is a workflow variable defined within a single workflow. Okay, so which can be defined in workflow file, which can be defined for a specific job or specific step. So we'll see this first type of the variable here, that is a workflow variable. So let me go here and open this file. Okay, so I have created this, and let me explain you how we can define the variable. So when we are defining the variable within the workflow, so we can define it using env keywords. So you can see here, so I have just defined variable cloud, and value is Google Cloud. So this variable I defined at the workflow level, so it can be accessed within any of the job, any of the steps. So this is it workflows scope. So this variable is having workflow scope, which can be accessed within complete workflow. Again, I have created one more variable here within the job. So for this variable, scope is within this job itself, and also I have created one more variable within the steps. So this variable scope is for this particular step itself. Okay, now all these workflow variable how we can access. So for this cloud, how we are accessing, just giving $cloud. Okay, so what I'm trying to print here, greeting $first name is using $cloud. Now value for greeting is hello, first name Vishal is using $cloud is Google Cloud. So it should print hello, Vishal is using Google Cloud. So these are the variable we defined within this single workflow. Now we'll see how we can execute it and if these values are accessed correctly. Okay, so let's go to actions. Okay, and this is our workflow variable. Okay, so let me just trigger this. So we can, I kept it manual trigger for all this workflow. So it is triggered. Let me reload. This is running. Okay, so let's wait for a few seconds as it is running now. Okay, and it is completed. Let me open. So hello Vishal is using a Google Cloud. So say hello Mona, it's Monday, it's the step name. I did a spelling mistake while putting it from the document. So you can see here hello Vishal is using a Google Cloud. So it accessed all the variable. This Google Cloud is defined as the workflow scope, hello is defined as the job scope, and Vishal is defined at the step scope. So we can define workflow variable in each scope of the variable. Okay, so this is a first type of variable that we can define in the workflow. So you can just use env parameters and define this workflow in key value pair. So this is one, this is second workflow, this is third variable, not workflow, it's variable. Now we'll see what are the second type of variables we can use. So the second type of variables are configuration variable. Now suppose if you have some common variables which you have to use in multiple workflows, not in a single workflows, in that case you can use a configuration variable. Now these configuration variables are not defined in your YML file, but these are defined in your repository setting or your organization setting or your environment setting. So these are a GitHub variables. So let me go and let me show you. So let me go to code, what example we have for our GitHub action configuration variables. Okay, so let me open workflow again. So we have a configuration variables here. Now in configuration variable you can see I am still using one workflow variable, that is env Google Cloud, and what I am trying to print, hey hello Vishal is using Google Cloud with project where project ID, but I am not defined project ID here because this is a configuration variable. So I have to define this variable in my GitHub repository setting. So I'll go and go to settings, I'll create one variable. So you have to go to secrets and variable, actions, variable, new repository variable. I'll just use project ID. Okay, and I'll just give the value. I'm just giving my Google Cloud project ID for sample. Add variable, so it should print this value tt-dev-001 when we access our workflow. So this is our configuration variable. Okay, so let me go first to the code and we'll try to see. So now when we are using configuration variable, we are using the context. I will explain you in the further what is context, but we have to use this double curly braces. Okay, then vars for configuration variable and then variable name. So this is the format while using configuration variable. While for workflow variable we have to just put a dollar sign. So this is most confusing part when you are using configuration variable and a workflow variable. So always remember, if you are using configuration variable, just use vars dot variable name within two curly braces. Okay, now if I execute this, it should print hello Vishal is using Google Cloud with project and my project name. So let me go to action and trigger configuration variable workflow. Let me trigger it. So let me reload. So sometimes it will get stuck for queued status. Now it is succeeded. Let's see. Hello Vishal is using Google Cloud with project, and this is my project name ttdev001. So this is how we can use a configuration variable. Now you can use it at a repository level and it can be used in all the workflows within your repository. You can use it at environment level, or you can define variable at your organization level itself. Okay, so these configuration variables are not within your workflow file. So these are the second type of variables we can use, which can be reused in multiple variables. For most common values you can use configuration variables, and for the values which are related to your workflow, then you can use your workflow variables. Now the third and most important type of variable are context variable from GitHub metadata. Now see, when you are executing your jobs, sometimes you have to get a lot of metadata from your GitHub. Let's say you are giving condition that you have to execute jobs only when branch name is XYZ, or your workflow name is XYZ, or your repository name is XYZ. So you give a lot of conditions there, but you cannot define these variables at a runtime. So it should take the current repository name, or a current branch name, or current envar name, or also you have to get the username while running your workflow. So how all these metadata related to your GitHub, related to your workflow, how you can get this? So for this there is a concept in GitHub, that is a context. So you can get these details from context. So in layman term, this context is nothing but the metadata related to your job, related to your workflow, related to your repository, related to your workflow file. So this is a metadata. So how we can access this metadata, I'll show you here. So let's go to the code, and I will show you this context variable example as well. So we have context variable here. Now you can see what I am doing. So this workflow dispatch is just for manual trigger. One workflow variable I am still defining here. Okay, so now what I am doing, I am using the context variable. So I am just printing echo repository name github.repository. Now this variable I am not creating anywhere. It is pulling, that is inbuilt kind of variable, it is pulling from context. So github.repository means current repository name, github.workflow, which is my workflow name. If your workflow name is not defined, it will give the path of your workflow. github.triggering actor, which is the person who is triggering this workflow. So these all are context inbuilt variable, you can say, while using your GitHub action workflow. So what are these different inbuilt context available for us to use? So there is a separate documentation. So let me open this link for you. So I have this link, let me copy it, and I'll show you what are the different context we have. So you can see there is right side, you can see we have GitHub context, we have environment context. So you can see GitHub, which is give top level context available during the GitHub, so which is like complete context it will give. Then github.action, the name of the action currently running, path, reference, repository, actor is the username of the user, then actor ID, API, all these variables or context variables are available for us to use within our workflow. So you can use this workflow. So there are workflow related to job, there are workflow related to secrets. So all these context variables you can use, or these context you can use. Okay, so we'll see all this one by one. So we are using few of the context variables here. So first we are using repository, so it should print a repository name, it should print workflow name, and it should print a person who is triggering this workflow. Now let me go to the action and trigger this workflow. Okay, so let me go to the context variable, let me run workflow. So I kept all workflows manual run, so I am pushing anything, it should not trigger automatically. Okay, so this is in queued status. Let's refresh, let's open it. It will take a few seconds, and it succeeded. Let's open and let's check the value. Now you can see the repository name Vishal-Bulbule GitHub action demo, that is correct. So this is our repository name. Okay, workflow name testing context variable, which is correct, and triggered by my username. So you can use this context variable whenever you are doing conditional operation, and these are very useful in a GitHub action workflow. So you can just follow the documentation, what are the different context variables we have and how we can use this within our workflow. So again, for using this context, you have to use a double bracket here, double curly braces here, okay, with a dollar sign. So these double curly braces are nothing but for your context, and that's why even in our last variable type, that is a configuration variable, these are also fetched from the context. That's why we are using this double curly braces for where variable available in configuration of the GitHub repository. So now we seen three type of variables, that is workflow variable, configuration variable, and context variable. So hope you don't get confused. So I'll be sharing all this code with you. I will make this repository public. You can just play around it, you can fork this repository and play with your GitHub account, and that is completely free for you. Okay, so now we'll see how we can provide input for manually triggered workflow. So now suppose you have to give some value while running workflow, you have to mention some parameters while running the workflow. So that is also possible in case you are running workflow manually. So how we can identify which workflows are manually. So where the action is, so let's open anything. So where action is workflow dispatch, that is for manual triggered workflow. Now I have one workflow where I can use user input to execute a workflow. So this is my workflow, user input. So here I am doing just simple additional operation. So I am accepting two numbers from the users and I am adding these two numbers and setting up the output. So this is the syntax. See, this is a manual triggered workflow, so you can use these inputs for manual triggered workflow, and these are the inputs you are giving. So first input is first number, required true. This is, you cannot trigger workflow without providing this input. This is second number, default value is 0, you cannot trigger without giving this value. And then it is adding two numbers, so it is setting output, and sum is equal to number 1 plus number 2. But how you can access this input? So this is the way you can access input dot number 1 and input dot number 2. So this is the correct way to access a user input within your workflow. So now let me go and try to trigger this workflow, and we'll see how we can provide a user input. Okay, so now when I ask for a run workflow, it will ask me for input. Okay, so it is asking first number, second number. Even if I give it any value, does not give any value, default value is 0. We said I'll just give 5, first number, second number 3. Now it should give me a sum as 8 as a output of our workflow. Let me run my workflow. Okay, so with user input I have executed my workflow. Now most of the time you can create a common workflow which can perform a same operation for multiple region, multiple networks, and these input variable you have to pass. Okay, so in that case you can use this manually triggered workflow with input parameters. Now let's see, add numbers. So set output sum 5 plus 3 and display sum. The sum of 5 and 3 is 8, so this is our output. So this is how we can pass input to the manually triggered workflow. So this is a simple examples. If you are doing that repetitive operation, you can use this. So suppose you have to deploy some application on Cloud Run, so you can create a single workflow and you can only pass some variables using a user input, just like image name or Cloud Run service name, and you can trigger this workflow. So the same workflow can be used multiple times. It cannot be static. You can make it dynamic by passing a user input variables. Now we have seen how we can use these four kind of variables: workflow variable, configuration variable, context variable, and user provided variable, that is for manually triggered workflow. Now one thing we are missing, how we can use the secrets. So secrets you cannot directly use within your workflow file. That secret you have to pass in your, you have to create secrets in a repository setting. So let me go to the settings, let me create one secret. Okay, I'll just create one secret here. I'll just create secret as a my key. Okay, I'm just giving and value, I'm just typing anything, add secret. Okay, and let me go to code and let me try to see if I can access my secret. So I have secret workflow here, so I'm just checking secret variable, secret value is, and test key. So this is not test key, let me update. So now the name is my key. Okay, let me commit changes and let's execute. Now one thing I mentioned here, just action step debug true. So in the log we can see, but this as a key it will show star star star, it will not display our sensitive value. Let's see how we can see that. Go to actions, and which is our secret variable. Yeah, so trigger this. Okay, so this is running. Let's reload and it should complete within few seconds. Okay, it's completed. You can see the secret value is, it is not displaying as a sensitive data, it is just displaying as a your star or a hidden value. But let's how we can identify that it is accessing the secret. I'll just do one trick. What I will do, inside my secret I will just give one command. Okay, so what I will do here, I will give echo hello. So this is the value of secret I am giving. It is not definitely a secret, but just to validate if my secrets are fetched correctly, I am just giving this value. Now I'll go to code, I'll go to my secret workflow. Okay, and here what I will do, so now I will just use this. Okay, so it should print hello now because my secret value is echo dot hello, so it should print hello. It should print secret value echo hello. So let's commit, go to the action, and where is secret? Let's run workflow again. Okay, it's running. Let me open, let reload. Okay, it's completed, and let's see. Now you can see secret value echo hello, and it printed hello because we just executed command from the secret, so it is printing as a hello. Now this is a simple trick. We can check if we have to debug the value is fetched currently from the secret. So this is the way we can use secret. But how we are using secret, I mentioned that part, I forget that part. So let's go back to code, secrets dot. So here again we are using context, and from context we are using secrets. So let's go back here and check the secret context, how we can access the secret context. So it is mentioned here in secret context. So you can see secret context. So you can use secrets dot your secret name. So you have to use curly braces with a double quote. So same way we are doing secrets dot secret name within a dollar and curly braces. Okay, so this is how you can access your secret, which is available in our GitHub secrets. Okay, so this is how we can create a multiple kind of variable based on our requirement. We can create a workflow variable, we can create configuration variable within repository or organization or environment. We can get variable or context data from the GitHub context. Also we can use input for manually triggered workflow, and also we see how we can use a secrets. So hope this part is clear now. This is a very basic but most useful part for creating your own GitHub action workflow. So hope you are good till now. If you are facing any issue, just let me know in comment section and I'll try to help you out. So thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you again in a next video.